Hi, my name is David Utes, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Yale-China Association. 恭喜发财, 恭喜发财. Thank you for being with us today as part of Lunar Fest. And as you know, Lunar Fest, we have all kinds of things going on. Some of you were with us for the parade and the lion dance. And after this event, I hope you will join us for some of the other activities. Most of the other things are happening at two locations very close to us. So after this, you can go just one block up to the New Haven Museum, and there are quite a few activities there. And then one block that direction on Hill House Avenue at Luce Hall, there are a lot of other events. And we have a whole schedule of activities. So if you don't have our LunaFest brochure, you can pick it up right across the hall. I and the other staff can help get you to other events and activities. But thank you for joining us today. We're about to start what we call our Fireside Chats. We don't actually have a fire going, but you can imagine that. And this is a series that Yale-China has been organizing for a number of years to share a wide variety of activities and issues and aspects of Chinese culture, Chinese current affairs, and often an author series. We have one of the author events on Monday. So if you like today, please come back Monday afternoon for another one. We're going to have quite a different discussion, but a really wonderful one with Terry Lautz, who is the former vice president of the Luce Foundation and a former chair of Yale-China Association. He's just written a book on John Birch, China and the Cold War. This is a very interesting talk. He's just completed a book published by Oxford University Press. It's going to be a really interesting discussion, so please join us again on Monday afternoon at 4. It's my honor to welcome Jimmy Lee from New Asia College at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, who is going to give us a discussion. He called it a personal sharing of something that has been on everyone's mind. And this was the events of the last 2 years in Hong Kong, in particular the umbrella movement. And he's going to give us a talk which he has titled A Short-Lived Utopia, Offspring of Tear Gas and Yellow Umbrellas. Jimmy Lee is a professor in the Department of Computer Science at the Chinese University. He is also the Associate Dean of Students at New Asia College. And as many of you know, because many of you are here in the audience as part of this program, Yale-China and New Asia College have had a 60-some-year relationship of exchanges. And for 23 of those years, we've had a program called YUNA. That's Y-U-N-A. The N-A stands for New Asia, Y-U stands for Yale University. And at an earlier point in my career, I was based in Hong Kong, and we were just creating this program in the mid-1990s. And we were hopeful that this would be a new and interesting way to engage students on the Yale campus and students at New Asia College in Hong Kong and bring them together for a meaningful experience and exchange. 23 years later, we are just delighted. This has become one of the most vibrant and highly respected, prestigious things that you can do as an undergraduate on both campuses. So we welcome everyone here who's part of this year's UNA program, and it's my particular pleasure to welcome Jimmy Lee and his thoughts on the umbrella movement. So welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, David, for the very kind introduction. It is indeed my privilege to be part of the Lunar Fest and also to be a speaker today at the Fireside Chat. First of all, of course, I will have to thank Yale-China for making all this happen. I also have to thank the New Asia College, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, for entrusting me of the responsibility of traveling with 8 young gentlemen and ladies to come here for the student exchange. During the past few days, I really enjoyed New Haven, as well as the many interactions with Yale students as well as scholars. I guess it's time for me to make my contributions. So that's why we have this talk here. The title of the talk is, can you see it? Yeah? A short-lived utopia, offspring of tear gas and yellow umbrella. Well, there are three things in the title here. Utopia. I think we all have a utopia in mind, or maybe we are even looking for a utopia. What is your utopia? Of course, we also have tear gas. The Hong Kong government told us it's just tear gas, it's not going to kill you. And of course, we also have yellow umbrella. And I think David also mentioned about the umbrella movement in Hong Kong that happened in 2014. And of course, I was looking for images of yellow umbrella from the internet, and it turns out that yellow umbrella also stands for other things in your culture. For example, finding the right person, you know. And also here it says the great moments of your life won't necessarily be the things you do, they will also be the things that happen to you, and I like this quote. That's why I would like to share with you. But, you know, what do these three things have anything to do with each other? I don't think it ever in history, you know, the three things are linked together, but that's what I'm trying to do today, okay? So people ask me, hey, what are you going to talk about today, Jimmy? You're from Hong Kong. Of course, you're going to talk about the so-called one country, two systems. Oh, sure, I mean, the one country, two systems gave people of Hong Kong 50 years of autonomy after the changeover in 1997. I'm going to touch upon the one country, two systems, but the talk is not about one country, two systems. Yes, you know, Oxford Dictionary just put Hong Konger as a word into the Oxford Dictionary in 2014. So are you going to talk about local identity of Hong Kong people? Yes, I'm going to touch upon this topic, but it's not about localism in Hong Kong. Wow, you're from Hong Kong, of course you know Hong Kong's history. I'm not a historian, although, you know, I unavoidably, I would have to talk about a very short piece of history in Hong Kong that happened in 2014, and I think it's going to make it into the history book, but it is not a history talk. Umbrella movement, yes, I have this talk because of the umbrella movement, but I do not want to spend too much time talking about the umbrella movement. Although, you know, David reminded me that, you know, I should give you at least a brief background of what's happening to give you the context of my presentation. So it's not a talk about umbrella movement either. It's not a talk about politics either. I'm not going to comment on whether the umbrella movement is right or wrong or anything like that, because I personally do not like politics. In fact, I have to confess to you, I did not start reading newspaper until I was doing my PhD. So, because I thought newspapers are boring, you know, why do I want to read all those stories in the newspapers? Until 1989, I was doing my PhD in Canada, and there was the June 4th Tiananmen incident, I have to say, you know. Then I started paying attention to news. But no, I think I'll leave it to the political scientists, I'll leave it to the social scientists to comment on, you know, whether the umbrella movement, you know, whether it's right or wrong, or where it's leading us. So I've told you what this talk is not about. You might be curious what I'm going to talk about. Okay, it's about values, creativity, cultures, and community practices that happen in the occupied area that was born out from the umbrella movement. Okay. And I focus. Oh, can you see the light here?
Yeah.
Okay, I emphasize on self-organized because, you know, that particular community at the occupied area is spontaneous. Nobody is leading the organization. It just happened. People just started gathering there. Okay, and it turns out that there are things that are interesting in there, and I would like to analyze what I saw with you through the eyes, of course, of me. And I have to say something about myself. I was made and born in Hong Kong, okay, in the 60s, and I spent 10 very important years of my life in Canada for schooling. You know, I attended high school, undergrad, up to my PhD in Canada. And I think I'm qualified to comment or talk about this incident because I've been in Hong Kong for the last 24 years. So I was back there, and I think I know what's happening in Hong Kong. So that's my background. But before I move on, I have to acknowledge two very important persons of my life. On the left-hand side is my wife, and this is my sister-in-law. Actually, many of the ideas and also the pictures, they helped me to look for the pictures and put together some of the slides in this presentation here. And in particular, my sister-in-law, she's really involved in the umbrella movement, not as an organizer, but as I would say, an inhabitant in the occupied area. So she saw many things and shared with us in the family. As suggested by David, of course, I have to give you some background of, a little bit of space and time, what's happening where, okay? So far, far away in this once tiny fishing village in 2014, okay? This is a historic moment in Hong Kong, August 31st, 2014. What happened was, Hong Kong has been returned to the mainland China for 17 years? More than that? 18 years now, okay, because it's 2016 now. We have a person in charge of running Hong Kong. He's called the Chief Executive of Hong Kong. For a long time, this person was elected by a so-called election committee of 1,200 persons, okay, who are supposed to be from various backgrounds representing the various interest groups in Hong Kong, okay. But people were never happy about it. And we were really looking for, and actually the central government promised us so-called universal suffrage to select our next chief executive in the year 2017, okay? So there was a lot of discussion going on, but what happened was on August 31st, the so-called Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, they came up with a white paper defining exactly what kind of universal suffrage they would like to give us. Yes, they said universal suffrage means that everybody could vote, okay? That's the partial definition they adopted. But sure, you can stand for election as well, but they are going to have, again, a 1,200 person nomination committee to pre-screen the candidates before they are allowed to come up and stand for election for the chief executive. And after that, Hong Kong people were very, very unhappy. And there was a lot of lobbying with the politicians and government officials, but nothing happened. And eventually, on September the 22nd, in the same year, now this is our beautiful campus, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. This is our school emblem. I think it's a beautiful campus. Of course, our campus is beautiful. I think it's more beautiful because we've got 10,000 students from all different universities in Hong Kong gathering on our campus to talk about a school boycott, okay? As a way of, expressing that, people in Hong Kong are not happy with what's happening, okay? Our government has got a thick face, nothing happened. So we've got school boycott, and then students, they started, between September 23rd to 25th, students started gathering surrounding the government headquarters and, holding all kinds of, forums and talks and presentations and discuss the future of Hong Kong.
Is it 2014?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. No. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So no. We are not yet in September 2016 yet. And this is another historic moment. September 26th at 10:30 p.m. at night. You are seeing a whole bunch of students gathering. This is right outside of the government headquarters. Now what happened was, I have to give you a little bit of background to the video that I'm going to show you. Just outside of the government headquarters, there is a place called the so-called Civic Square. It is really a place for people to gather. It's a square, right? So supposedly everybody is supposed to be able to go in there, okay? But because of a previous incident in Hong Kong, which I'm not going to talk about, the government essentially has closed down the place. Okay, so that evening, September the 26th, we had a whole bunch of students gathering outside, and let's take a look at what happened. So I'm not sure whether you recognize Joshua Wong. He's one of the student leaders in Hong Kong. And he essentially said, let's go and occupy Civic Square. So all of a sudden, students started climbing the fence and, going into the area. And of course, there was a lot of confrontation. Our police, they were really nervous seeing, so many students trying to, take over a public place. And, they are using pepper spray. And again, they say, it's not going to kill you, don't worry. So it's chaotic. Some guys go in there and then they open the gate, and then all the other guys would rush in there with lots of confrontation and pushing, and eventually they occupy. This is the civic square, okay, and then they hold onto each other's arm to form a person's chain, so that it's not easy for the police to take them apart. Okay, I'll stay here. That lasted for over 12 hours. Okay. Well, police, they are smart. They knew that if they wanted to evacuate the venue, it would be difficult. They would have to use a lot of violence. So they let the guys sit in there for 15 hours. Okay, until they are tired overnight, right? They're hungry, and the next day at 1:30 p.m. The police evacuated the place. Okay, and you could actually also see that the evacuation is actually peaceful. The students, they just sat there, allowing the police to just take them away. Okay, student leaders, politicians, students, civilians, they were all arrested by the police. Okay, these guys are some of the student leaders. And actually, Joshua Wong was already arrested the night before, so he's not in the scene here. Okay. So after that, that was 27th. You could tell that people are really not happy with what's happening. And then, essentially, they're calling for more people to surround the government headquarters. People would like to go back to the civic square. They said the civic square should belong to the people. Okay, and it's up to a point that the